friends. Welcome to the Let's Get Gritty podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you guys this evening. I hope that you guys are just getting so much school shopping done, enjoying your open houses, preparing to go back, just ready to just take charge through grit this year. With that said, I do want to make some announcements. First things first. The Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on the Swing Girl Media podcast. It'll also be featured on my social media outlets, and you can also find it on Spotify. In addition to that, you can find it and follow me as well on my social media platforms. So you have Facebook as Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indie238. YouTube is India White 123. And TikTok is Dr. India White. I invite you to check out the website, www.india-white.com, for books, blogs, or to schedule me for an upcoming speaking or coaching event. Speaking of events, I'm grateful again to everyone, Yolanda Beckles and the tribe over in LA, at the Black Kids Love Math Summit, the second annual summit. It was a wonderful time for us to join together. And it was probably one of the best conferences I've ever attended as a speaker. And I can't quite put my finger on why it was so amazing. It just was. I just think it was just the right people were there. The synergy was there. Everyone was so uplifted. And if you missed it, you just really missed a wholesome time. It was phenomenal. Well done, the whole thing. And I'm honored to join you guys and to come back to that. So I'm looking forward to hearing of how gritty LA will be, how gritty California is going to be this year. I also wanted to remind you guys of some announcements. The Grit Mini Workshop with the Grassroots Workshops website. Go to grassrootsworkshops.com and you'll be able to see my website or my workshop titled How to Harness Grit to Help Students Thrive. So check that out whenever you guys get a chance. Also, Grit Academy, we are taking students, so send them our way for tutoring and other services. And also remember, if you're starting out the school year, you're needing some kind of time management, accountability, things like that, then feel free to check out a Grit calendar. You can find those on the website. All right, now I want to talk a little bit about grit. Of course, is great resilience in time. And I want to start out by giving you guys a rundown on how we can start off a gritty school year. Okay, I'll be covering this and covering some things that I found on the web for us. And let's just have a good time. I'll also share a little bit of my blog that I wrote for teachers, across the nation, what we can do to prepare for a gritty, successful school year. So first tips, first things first, get to know your students. So it's my hope and prayers that when students start the school year, that they will leave with a pep in their step on that first day, knowing that their teachers are, assertive, firm, but really nice, and that they're able to really open up in those classrooms. Sometimes it pays off to really put ourselves in the shoes of our students to understand like how they're feeling, any anxieties they might have. Please also keep in mind that this summer students are doing all different types of activities. Some were involved in sports, some were involved in STEM activities, some were involved in just all different type of things with their religion, STEM fields, whatever. There's a lot of different areas that covers our students, right? Please keep that in mind, because not every kid is going to be as excited about school. Also, some students experience some hardships over the summer. So we have to keep these things in mind whenever we're dealing with our kids, okay? Next, speak to every parent, whether that's email, sending home a syllabus, text message, whatever. Find a way. I don't think it's enough to just say, our school has this online platform where all the teachers talk to students, and that's enough. Go the extra mile. I find that great teachers have to not be lazy. They have to be willing to go that extra mile to really communicate and make the next step. See it like growing a business, right? Okay, next, connect with the community. So find leaders in your community, stakeholders, business owners that you can connect with. Let them know you're in town, and see how you guys can partner together. One thing you can do is if you have some accounts like Donors Choose and you're looking for school supplies, you can let those local businesses know. Car dealerships, restaurants, they would be willing to partner with you. Okay, next, know your data for your schools. What's going on with the students in your class? Who are your lower performing learners? How long were they lower performing? Is it a learning disability or was it just a bad test day? Okay, find out from your students if they like math or not. Find out from your students if they're new to the area. Did they move out of state? Did they move from another district? Do they have, what's the family structure? Find out all those things so that you can best service your students. And then establish norms for success in your classroom. So having rules and procedures established, I would say stick to no more than 5 rules and no more than like 10 procedures. Remember, the rule of thumb is if it's a procedure, it is meant to be broken until it's mastered. Again, a procedure is meant to be broken until it is mastered. Rules, they are meant to be strived to be kept in the classroom. Of course, giving reminders, but of course, those are just basic, like how you're going to overall meet the needs of all your students throughout the school year and keep a sane and learning and safe place and learning environment, of course, for your students. Keep that in mind. All right. So with that said, those are my tips for you guys on how you can start off the school year strong with your students. So now what I want to do is I'm going to pull up my blog because it kind of goes with this article. The school year, guys. So here's the 5 powerful tips. It's the same ones. Okay. So if you want to use this, you can get to know your students, speak to every parent, connect with the community, know your data, establish your norms. Okay. And then, of course, you can bring me to your school. All right. So let's read through this. Let's get gritty. 5 grit-powered tips for starting off the school year right. The start of the school year is a powerful moment, a fresh opportunity to set the tone, establish relationships, and lay the foundation for student success. This year, I encourage you to launch your classroom with grit, focusing on a growth mindset, resilience, self-efficacy, and time management. These 4 pillars don't just help students succeed academically, but they help you, the educator, lead with clarity, purpose, and confidence. So here are 5 actionable grit-filled tips to kick off your school year strong. So again, tip 1, get to know your student because every student comes with a unique story. So taking time to understand their learning styles, goals, and experiences shows them that they matter. This is where growth mindset comes alive because we believe every student can improve and grow no matter their starting point. So a great tip for you guys, use icebreakers, interest surveys, or one-on-one chats to learn more about each student. Personal connections inspire engagement and persistence. Okay, next. Tip 2, speak to every parent or guardian. Again, tip 2, speak to every parent or guardian because having a strong home to school partnership builds trust and it sets tone for collaboration. When parents feel like they're seen and heard, they too are more likely to support and partner with you throughout the school year. We need to be mindful that it's not an us versus them. We've got to all be on the same page starting day 1. Next, grit tip. Make it a goal to connect with every family in the first 2 weeks. A positive only phone call, teachers. Positive only. If you're starting the first week of school already talking about how the student is getting out of class and standing up in their chair and things like that, you're starting off wrong. Okay? You're going to have to build more patience. Okay? I would say wait till after the first month to do any of that. All right, next, connect with your community. Okay? Students are more resilient when they see how their learning connects to the real world, whether that's inviting local leaders or speaking to organizing service projects. Community connections is bringing relevance and depth to your teaching. So a great tip, tap into the power of local culture and voices. When students see their communities represented in learning, they build pride and purpose. Next, know the data. Data isn't just numbers. It's a guide to help you make intentional decisions. Understanding your students' gaps and growth areas helps you manage your time wisely and personalize your goals. So a great tip, set aside weekly time to review data set aside time to review data and make small, consistent adjustments. Okay? Empower your students to track their own progress and celebrate wins, big or small. Now, tip 5, establish norms for success. Your classroom culture will shape how your students respond to challenges. So, create norms that emphasize perseverance, responsibility, and mutual respect. A great tip for you, let students help you define what success looks like in your space. So when expectations are clear and co-created, students feel ownership, and that builds resilience and self-efficacy. All right. So for you guys, my final thought, this school year, let's lead with grit. Let's build classrooms where students feel empowered to grow, bounce back, and believe in themselves. When we model grit as educators, we equip students with the tools that they need to thrive in every area of life. Okay, so hopefully you guys will be able to do awesome. You can stay gritty. I would love to help you build a grit-driven school culture. There's my contact info, of course, india-white.com. You can check out my email, contact me, and let's get it done. All right, so thanks for letting me share. So that was pretty cool. I just wanted to talk just in general and give you guys my love before the school year starts, because I know it's hustling so much for teachers. I can't say it enough. Please do not worry about curriculum right now. Your focus needs to be on getting to know your students, doing surveys. If you need help with this, I'll help you. Okay, I'm willing to help. Reach out. Do you have a getting to know you activity? What are you going to do to break the ice with your students? Are you going to be able to let them get up and, do whatever? Do you have a money system? What do you have? Okay, I just don't want this school year to blindside any of us. We need to make sure we're doing what we need to do to set up a successful school year. All right. Now, I want to play a little video that I was able to find, Teaching Grit, a new approach to success. Let's listen.
Should teachers be teaching grit alongside math and science? Most people assume that it takes natural intelligence for kids to become academically successful. And that's true. But did you know that non-cognitive skills like grit and determination are just as important? There was a large study published recently out of the UK, and it involved 10,000 children between the ages of 7 and 16. It showed that dispositions related to cognition, like intelligence, of course matter. But it also showed that there are genetic and environmental factors that together shape the emotions and behaviors of young students, and these other factors matter just as much for academic success. This study has big implications for how we approach education. If non-cognitive skills like perseverance and self-regulation matter just as much for kids' academic children's emotional and behavioral development.
Okay, that was kind of cool. So there you had that. That was cool. He basically broke it down for us that, you need to be teaching grit, because that study studied 10,000 students. He said 10,000. And they found that you needed perseverance, grit to help students along with the cognitive ability to be successful and persevere in school. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now I want to show you something else I was able to find on the web for us. Grit, the best measure of success and how to teach it. Okay. So this is talking about grit. Why is grit so important? And what is grit? Okay, this is great. I'm going to back up some. This is some good stuff. So it says, why is grit so important? Using the grit scale that Duckworth developed with Chris Peterson, they found that grit is a better indicator of GPA and graduation rates. However, IQ is very predictive of standardized test scores. Look at that. So do you want them to graduate, or do you just want them to be smart enough to pass that test? I guess you kind of need both, right? Look at this. And then adding to this, they found findings from Bowen, Chingos, and McPherson, okay, that high school grades have a more predictive value of college success than standardized tests. And you may just see the shift from standardized test scores to high school GPA by some college admission officers, okay? So as GPA becomes more important, grit will become more recognized. I tried to tell y'all this as a vital part of 21st century student success. As well, it should be. I tried to tell y'all that part there. It is taking off because people realize it works. So what is grit? Now, I love this. I love this next sentence because I did so much research on Albert Bandura and self-efficacy, which is also a part of my grit framework. So this is just a breath of fresh air to see this. So it says, what is grit? Some would argue that grit is inherent in Albert Bandura's research on self-efficacy and that resilience is also a part of it. But you can't just implement character education and think you're teaching grit. So in 2008, the Character Education Partnership divided character into two categories: core ethical values and performance value. In my opinion, grit is more characterized as performance, and I agree, right? Because the thing I love about grit is you can have a positive mindset, you can have your goals all done, but if you don't get off your butt and do something, it's not going to get done. Grit is the fuel that you need to get things done. Okay. It's what helps you hold yourself accountable through goal setting, keeping a calendar, accountability partners. Like you don't get up off of what your goal is until you achieve it. Okay. So yes, you need a positive mindset. Yes, you need, people to support you. You need all these fiscal things, but you need grit to get the ball rolling, right? To make things move forward. So I thought it was pretty cool. Let's go back to this. I think that's really neat too, though, how they were able to also find Bandura's research on self-efficacy. That's awesome. All right. So here are 11 ways that they're tackling grit. One, they're reading books about it, right? So they have a whole list here of books. Kip's character report card. I like that. Promoting grit, tenacity, and perseverance by the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Educational Technology. I love that. Yes. They watched Angela Duckworth's TED Talk. Okay. You can also watch my TED Talk. I'll put that plug in there. And you can take my grit assessment on. And then here it says, help students develop a growth mindset. Carol Dweck from Stanford. She teaches us the students who have growth mindset are more successful than those who think intelligence is fixed. You can reframe problems, find a framework. There's all different types of frameworks. I have a grit framework that I've been just helping people with. Foster safe circumstances that encourage grit. That's another one. Acknowledge the sacrifice that grit requires. Thank you. So glad they said that. My goodness. Whew. So it says grit takes time. I love it. Oh my goodness. And students aren't giving it. They're not giving the time it needs to build grit. It is a trait. It's like a muscle. You go to work out. Some of us know bodybuilders. Some of us know people that could use help with a bodybuilder. But either way, that doesn't mean that they don't have muscles because they might not have the muscular strength of a bodybuilder. We all have muscles, but it takes time to build your muscles up, just like bodybuilders do in the gym every day. And it's going to take time to build grit academically. There's different levels. There's emotional grit. There's mental grit. There's academic grit. There's all different types of grit, right? So here it says, in their 2010 paper, the falling time cost of college, Babbitt and Marks demonstrate in 1961, U.S. graduates studied 24 hours a week outside of class. In 1981, that fell to 20 hours. In 2003, it was only 14 hours a week. So basically, they're saying if we study less and less and work less, then we'll learn less. Okay, so discuss when do you need grit and when you need to quit. Yes, there's a balance. You don't want to push it, right? It says sometimes you need to let go and let go of something good to grasp something great. Students need discernment. I love that. Okay, to know when they need grit and when it's time to quit. And then educators also need grit, which I just talked with you guys about. So as teachers, we just need the grit to do whatever it takes to turn education around. And it starts that hard work of our own modern version of true grit. So I found that to be fabulous. And I was happy that they wrote that for us. And yeah, so, I mean, that was pretty cool. All this stuff is cooking, we're doing all that we can to put information, frameworks, strategies out here so that we can have success for our students. And I'm telling you, if you can do grit with fidelity this year, I mean, from grit workbook, grit calendar, grit assessment, really holding your students accountable and holding yourself accountable, I can guarantee your students are going to surpass your expectations. I just know it's true. I've seen it time and time again. And I'm telling you, they're waiting to do it. So now I want to go back and talk about another article I was able to find for us. Lexia, grit, an essential ingredient for academic success. Okay. An athlete who wins an Olympic medal, a cadet who passes basic training, a student who earns a high GPA. What do these people all have in common? Talent or intelligence may have been the first answers that come to mind, but there's actually another less conspicuous factor that runs along these individuals, and that is grit. So, of course, grit is the sustained, persevering, and passion for long-term goals, according to Dr. Angela Duckworth, a researcher at the University of Pennsylvania. Okay, and she won a MacArthur Genius Grant. Give her flowers. All right. Grit is not a concept. We've known for decades that talent or intelligence alone does not automatically translate to high achievement. That's why I said, watch out for those kids that are the underdogs that had so much to overcome and people are betting against them. Those are going to be the world changers. So here it says, in the 1920s, Stanford graduate Catherine Cox read the biography of 300 famous geniuses, including Mozart, Leonardo da Vinci, Charles Darwin, and determined that certain qualities differentiated those who accomplished enough to change the world. That tendency not to abandon tasks for novelty and the tendency to not abandon tasks in the face of obstacles. I love that. In other words, even the world's most renowned geniuses had consistently worked toward their goals and overcame adversity in order to accomplish great things. That's their resilience. As researchers continue to study grit in the 21st century, we're getting an understanding of just how significant grit might be in terms of achievement, potentially those equal to or more significant than talent or intelligence. So Duckworth says here, grit is the most accurate predictor of whether or not cadets finish basic training at West Point, more so than SAT, GPA, extracurricular activities, and physical aptitude. Love it. Building grit. Whoop, whoop. So schools across the country, including the KIPP Public Charter School Network, are creating a curriculum and implementing programs to help students become grittier. A focus on character has been a cornerstone of KIPP since its inception and still composes the essential beliefs or the essence of its beliefs. To succeed in college and the world beyond, KIPPsters need both a strong academic foundation and a well-developed character. So they have 7 strengths, including grit. So they have zest, grit, optimism, self-control, gratitude, social intelligence, very nice, curiosity. Avoid the grass is greener, always greener mentality. Also identify and focus on student passions. I like this. Praise effort and perseverance over getting the answers right. So it says praising effort, perseverance, and learning over getting answers right. Encourage the students to value hard work behind achievements. However, right answers still matter, and praising effort should not overshadow this. So saying things like that feeling of math being hard is the feeling of your brain growing, that productive struggle, right? That's why they need resilience so that they can persevere through it. So I think that's pretty cool. And I'll stop sharing there. So that was another really neat article I was able to find for us. And so now I kind of want to share one more just for parents to know how they can help with grit. Back to school tips for families. Make the first day of school easier for your kids. Take your child to visit the first new school before the first day of school. Remind your child that teachers know the students may be nervous about the first day, so they'll make an extra effort to make sure that everyone feels comfortable as possible. If your student is nervous, ask them what they're worried about and help them to problem solve. Okay? Another thing, this is big. Develop a healthy sleep routine for your kids. Help your child to adjust to earlier bedtimes a week or two before the new school year starts. Next, plan for safe travel to and from school. So whether they're taking the bus, safe driving and carpooling to school, right? Also consider backpack safety. And then again, help prevent bullying at school. When your students are bullied, alert school officials. Teach your child to be comfortable. Help your child to learn how to respond. Help them to recognize the serious nature of bullying. Talk to your kid about if they are the bully, what they need to do and to change that, right? When your child is a bystander to bullying, what they need to do. So this is so good. Look here. Support good homework and study habits. Some students need extra help organizing. So create an environment that's homework friendly. Create an ample time for homework. Establish a house rule that TV and stuff like that has a time frame, right? I think that's great. And I think that's key. I think it's what we need for our kids. So with that said, guys, we are prepared now to start off with a gritty school year. I hope that you have been able to find some kind of key nuggets to support you, whether you're a parent, student, or teacher, or leader in the community or administrator, whatever, as you're helping children this school year. Thank you again so much for joining me on the Let's Get Gritty podcast with Dr. India White. Again, this show, it's going to be featured on all of my main social media outlets, and Spotify, and you can find those. Facebook is Miss India White, LinkedIn is The India White, Twitter is Indie Speak and Teach, Instagram is Indie238, YouTube is India White 123, TikTok is Dr. India White. Check out my website whenever you guys get a chance, www.india-white.com, for books, blogs, or to schedule me for an upcoming event. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at these events below, NCSM and CTM, Making Math Moments, and the Black Kids Love Math Summit in November and beyond. Check out the Grit Mini Workshop. If you're an educator and at college or teacher, whatever, check that out. It's called How to Harness Grit to Help Students Thrive. Again, I am taking students this year, 2025-2026 school year, for online tutoring and support. And whatever you do, stay gritty. Okay. Thanks so much for joining me. See ya.